Reserve Bank of India has estimated growth rate at 7.2%. In fact, Brickwork too had estimated, projected the growth earlier at 7.2%. But that is not likely to materialize in the present context because, number one, we don't know how long the war will continue and the sanctions will continue. So you have all sorts of supply side bottlenecks, supply disruptions, input costs, rise in input costs, and on at the international level, you have the effect of sanctions, and obviously the thing things like chips, semiconductors. Almost 40% of the materials required for that comes from the countries affected by this war. So we have, on top of it, within the domestic situation, we have power crisis, and obviously that's crucially necessary for production. You have power crisis, and hopefully the agricultural sector will have a normal growth. But industry is likely to suffer because of the semiconductor shortage as well as power sector, power crisis. My own feeling is that the rough estimate is that the economy possibly will clock somewhere about 7% growth this year. They will have to revise it. And on the inflation front again, there will be, so international commodity price will continue to be a problem, particularly energy, food prices. Today they said 75% of the increase in consumer price index is because of the food items. So you have, problems with food items. You have international, commodity prices are increasing, including, energy, edible oil, and various other items. On top of it, you also should know that the wholesale price index, in fact, last month was almost 15%. Eventually, wholesale price index translates itself into consumer price index because through the input cost increases. Because manufacturing sector buys things at the wholesale level, and increase in prices would reflect in the consumer prices index eventually. So, of course, this has, to a considerable extent, this has been factored in the Monetary Policy Committee's estimate of 6.7%, because in the first 3 quarters, the estimates are higher than 6%, and only in the last quarter they are talking about the 5.8%. So there is a lot of uncertainty. We still do not know what the situation is. I would possibly place the inflation rate somewhere around 7% rather than 6.7%.